Hello, everyone. I am here today with Tanja La Alemana Kensinger. Did I pronounce that right? I've never pronounced your last
Close. Kensinger.
name. Kensinger. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Here to talk about Dance Adventures, the book, and also just about her own. There it is. Just about her own experiences traveling and dancing and her career because I couldn't resist asking while I had the opportunity. So thank you so much for being here, Tanya. It's such a
Uh,
pleasure to get to chat with you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And you've been a professional dancer for a long time, and I'm curious, first of all, what is it about dance that has drawn you in over and over again all these years?
I think, well, dance has always been a part of my life. My mother was a professional ballroom dancer, so I grew up dancing. I would be in the living room dancing all the time. She put me in classes. I did ballroom when I was younger, and every time I heard music, I would dance. It doesn't matter where I was. I could be in a mall. I could be in the street downtown when I was younger. Just if I heard it, I was dancing. So I just I think it's just been in me to just dance when I hear music. And when I had finally had the opportunity, because I always thought I would dance, but then that was in Germany and we moved to the USA and things change, family dynamics change, life happens. And I kind of just put that aside. I didn't even think about it anymore until I received an opportunity to be a club dancer. Basically, I was a go-go dancer when I was 18. And then I saw a couple dancing salsa and I was like, this is what I need to be doing. I need to learn this. And my best friend is Puerto Rican and we've known each other since I was 10. So I've always had, like, not always, but I've had that Latin influence for a big part of my life back then, even. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, this is it. This is what I'm doing. No turning back. I'm taking classes and this is going to be a professional thing for me. So it's just, I feel like just music in general, it just makes me want to move, regardless if it's structured or whatever. It's just, I want to move to it. And now having had the opportunity to make it a profession, with structure is just what's keeping me there. And it's joy. That's what dance makes me feel like.
I love it. And that's fascinating. So you knew you wanted to be a professional dancer, and then when you saw salsa dancing, you said that is the thing. Like you
Yeah.
knew immediately.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
And you and your partner Jorge Ataca, you're considered two of the best bachata dancers in the world.
Mm.
And I'm wondering, what is the connection between two very advanced bachata Latin dancers like? Like, what does it feel like for you when you're dancing with him or another experienced lead?
I think with him, because we're also a couple, so we've been a dance couple and a couple for 12 years, like our entire career. And I feel like that definitely helps with our connection because from like the difference between us and other couples is not only because we're a couple, because there's many dance couples that are actually intimately involved as well. It's just we have a very different type of loving connection that is just for us. When we dance, it's just him and I, and we don't worry about anybody else. And that's not a plan that we had. We weren't like, oh yeah, this is going to be us and that's how we sell ourselves and that's our brand. It's just that's what happened. I think it's we look in each other's eyes and it happens naturally. um and even when we have a fight and then we have to do a show, the moment we look at each other's eyes, it just kind of like fades away. And then after the show, we're like, we're good. Like, I don't know. It's just a natural thing. It's really hard to put it into words. It aside from just saying that it's a natural connection that we have because we're also an intimate couple. But I also understand that couples that are intimately involved and are a dance couple, it makes it a lot of times harder for them because the personal and the business kind of gets involved. So it's hit or miss with some people, but for us, we got lucky.
And so I would imagine that with every lead, it's slightly different. With every advanced lead, they each bring their own unique style to it. For you, as you experience dance connection with another person, are you lost in the moment? Is it an experience of curiosity and wonder? Like, what is it like for you when you're co-creating with someone?
I think it definitely depends on the person. It depends on the energy that they're also giving me. I've danced with people that are just doing it for show and they'll do it for the camera. And then I'm just kind of like, all right, I'm just a prop at this point, and it's not as enjoyable, although I'll try to make it fun for myself just listening to the song. But when I do dance with people that have just a joyous energy, they are also in the moment. It's for me, it's in the moment as well. It's we're listening to the song, we're moving together yet separate because we're interpreting it our own way.
Mm.
So it just really depends on the actual person, but I have had some really, really nice connections where it's just like, again, super hard to describe, but you're in the moment and you're just enjoying the present. That's the only way to put it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That feels familiar based on my experience with Lindy Hop. It's the same way, like the music, you, the other person, and just like this little bubble of
Yeah,
joy. And you and Jorge get to travel all over the world and dance, and you get to go to different countries that have different languages. And I'm curious whether you're in Spain or Korea or Brazil, is there also a different flavor of the dance in each country?
absolutely. I definitely think there is. I believe the reasons probably because of maybe the influence of their culture, obviously, depending on the type of music they're in. Like Spain, for example, you'll have flamenco influence, Spanish guitars. So you have a different, because a lot of, and especially some of the professionals that are in the bachata scene, a lot of the women used to dance flamenco. So you have that influence coming into the dance as well. So I definitely believe that depending on the country, it's just a cultural thing. Um, yeah, I think it just depends on the music that they're listening to all the time, and they kind of bring that in there. The same thing I feel like in America too. We listen to like a lot of. I mean, it's different music, but there's R&B, and then you have the country. Like you have all these different styles, and I feel like that also comes into the dance because the U.S. dance is different than the people in Europe,
Mm.
and that's because of the cultural differences and the music that has influenced them and their families and the way they've grown up.
Which country that you visited most surprised you in terms of the styling they brought to the dance?
Hmm, the styling that they brought. I feel like a surprise. Ooh, that's a tough one though. That's really I. It's hard because since we started in 2008, YouTube has been the thing to go to, and I feel like even though everybody has their own flavor, we all influence each other. So you'll see the Spanish style or bachata sensual, the way they call it. They have had influence in like South America, and you see it in Asia as well. So it's really hard to tell a lot of the times where things are coming from, and to be completely surprised, I'm not. I want to say maybe like when we went to like Jordan,
Mm.
I feel like they have the more Arabic influence, like the music that they listen to. So you see a lot more of hip movement
Mm.
as they do in maybe like the belly dancing and things like that. I feel like I kind of noticed this was a long time ago though. But I feel like I saw that with the women when they were dancing bachata. It was just a little bit different flavor of how they were moving their body. Maybe not necessarily the steps, but
Mm.
how they were moving their own body.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is so cool. Um, and then each dance that we do can unlock a different superpower. So for you as a bachata dancer, as you travel the world and dance, what do you think is the superpower that bachata gives you?
Oh, um, that's, I feel like for, and it's, I can't just put it down just for bachata, but I feel like just dance in general has kind of given me the power to be more confident. I grew up, I'm an introvert naturally, and I grew up a shy person, not self-confident, like lacking a lot of things, and or at least in my eyes lacking a lot of things, and I feel like dance has brought out this alter ego. I want to say I feel like that's maybe my superpower. I have an alter ego. She comes out when I'm social dancing, especially when I'm doing a show.
Mhm.
But I feel like that applies to just dance in general. But bachata, because that's been the majority of my life and my dance career, my alter ego has been my superpower.
Okay, so
And
tell me more about your alter ego. Like, what's she like? Does she have a different name? Like, tell me
she
everything.
does. She does have a different name. Her name is Regina,
Mhm.
and she is a very flirtatious, sexy, aggressive, um, authoritative type of person.
Mhm.
And Tanya is a little bit not, I mean, I feel like I've kind of like melted them both together now at this point in my life. Before it was totally different, but that's she, yeah, she's a very flirtatious, sexy, dominatrixy kind of
I
person,
think I've
if
seen
I
those
could say
pictures.
that. That's who she is.
Yeah. And why Regina? Where'd that name come from?
You know what? I have no idea.
Huh.
I don't know.
Wow.
I have no idea where Regina came. It was weird because it was in a drunken state. I will say that. I do remember coming up with the name in a drunken state. And two of my friends, they also have alter egos, and they were saying their names. I can't remember them. And then I was like, "Yeah, mine's Regina." And we were like, "Okay, whatever. That's the name now."
That's so fun. Did you know her immediately or did you have to get to know her over time?
I think I think she's always been there.
Mhm.
I didn't realize she was there until really I love Beyonce. And Beyonce has her alter ego, Sasha Fierce.
Uh-huh,
And
of
the
course.
moment I found out about her, I was like, oh, that's who she is. Got it. Okay, now I can put a name to it and everything. Because otherwise I was like, oh, I just kind of like flip from personalities. And I'm
Hmm.
like, oh, okay, this is my alter ego. I'm gonna give her a name. She
Mhm.
exists, and this is when she comes out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think she's always been there. It's just she became more active, I would say, um, once my dancing career really started and I was able to do, more professional shows. I think she was even there when I was a kid because I would be a shy kid, but the moment the music comes on, Regina comes out. So
Yes. It's I love that idea, and I've loved it since I actually heard it from Beyonce too, that we can have this alter ego because I feel like many women around the world have this part of themselves that's more playful, more sensual, more something, and it exists inside of them because we're complex creatures, and yet oftentimes that part of us doesn't get fed, and it actually needs something to bring it out. And I loved when you said that now you've sort of integrated Tanya and Regina, and I imagine that's been a process, like something that you've like how is that
oh
process?
yeah, absolutely. I feel like as I've gotten older too, I've kind of, I mean, just when you get older, you start to learn more about yourself and you start to care less about things that you used to care about when you were little or younger. I think that's how I was able to integrate her because she was just so almost fearless in a way.
Mm,
I was like, this is who I want to be just in general.
mm,
So it definitely was a process of just being like remembering the feeling that I had on stage and on the social dance floor, and then trying to carry that feeling in certain situations. Maybe there was a situation that I was
mm,
uncomfortable with or would shy away from, and instead try to remember that fearless feeling and bring her back into the picture even during normal daily situations. But I will say that age definitely has had a lot to do with it, growing older and
mm.
learning about myself, reading a lot, self-discovery. But Regina definitely has played a huge part in that for sure.
And it sounds like you've consciously cultivated her as well. Like you actually made a choice, oh, I'd like to bring her more into this or this or this situation.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. I'm so curious if you've inspired other people around you to have alter egos. Do you know if do you
I
know if
think
it's caught on?
I definitely want to say that yes. I don't know if I've ever heard any other names, but I have had at least one person tell me because I've mentioned my alter ego before in like different interviews. They're like, "Oh my God, that's so amazing! I have one too, or I want one too." So
Uh-huh.
I want to say yes, but I just don't remember any of the names if I was even told any names. But I hope this inspires more people to do it, and men can do it as well. I feel like we all should have that.
Yeah. Yeah, that freedom to both get to assume an alter ego and also the freedom to integrate.
Right.
So, and we're way off script here. I apologize. I'm just
No, you're good.
I'm following my bliss. So, if you were going to create an alter ego now to bring out a part of your personality that you're hungry to explore more, who would it be and why?
Ooh, that is a good question. Well, let's see. I would probably, hmm, that's hard. I feel like Regina's doing a really good job.
Maybe there's another alter ego to play with. That's okay.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I don't think I could, because the thing is like with Regina, even though she's more like, I describe her as like the sexy vixen, whatever, but she's also fearless in a way. And
Mm.
um, I feel like that's just a good quality just in general to have, to just go for it. And a lot of times if we're in situations that we're not confident in, or we feel like maybe we don't have the full education in order to do something, like this, it's just continuing like, no, just do it. What's the worst that could happen? So I feel like Regina kind of encompasses every everything that I would need to add, to help me or help round me out a little bit. I don't think I need another alter ego. I think she kind of has it all.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm appreciating that you feel really complete with just her. It's just you and her going through the world together.
Yeah. Very
Hmm.
cool.
So cool. So, and just to check in, are you comfortable with me asking you off script questions?
Absolutely. Let's do
Okay.
it. I'm ready.
Yeah. So one thing I think about is you seem to have you're a brand with Jorge, obviously, and you also have your own voice, like on your Instagram.
Mhm.
You also have your own classes that you teach. I mean, what advice would you give to women who are in a partnership, whether it's professional or, romantic, about making sure to self-differentiate and create your own identity? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's really important to recognize, when you're being codependent. And that's something I struggled with for a long, it was cyclical. Like this is family situation, where you learn what you see, whatever your reality is. And I was a very codependent person. And when I met George, I still had those qualities, but being in our relationship, the person that he is helped me become the person that I am today, as well as having, our business partner, Rudy, he plays a huge role. He's like a big brother to me. And, they kind of have a way of putting me in check without having to put me in check, if that, makes sense. Like having to point something out. They just kind of like, hey, the way that they are makes me want to be better as well. So I think for other women, it's the number one thing I would say, because of my experience, is recognizing if you're being codependent, and um, putting yourself, attaching yourself to a person in order to get the validation that you're looking for, as opposed to giving yourself that validation. And that at that point, when you can do that, that is when you can start building your brand and branching out and doing your own thing. But for as long as you're attached to another human being for that validation, it's going to be impossible to do it for yourself. And that would be the number one thing I would say, is recognizing if you're in that way. Because if you're not, then there's no issue. You're totally able to build your brand and go for it. You're independent at that point.
You mentioned that that's something that you had struggled with. What was the turning point on your journey?
I think well, it definitely was when George and I want to say I feel like the one that I can recognize is when George and I got together. But I feel like I maybe started taking those steps before, after my last relationship, and it just didn't work out. Completely heartbroken. And then I lived by myself, or I had like another roommate, female roommate though, because before then I was always living with a boyfriend. I was always with somebody. I was never alone. So when I had to do things by myself, I had to figure out, oh shit, like I'm by myself. I got to figure this out. I got to learn how to change a tire, like all this stuff. And I feel like leading up from the breakup and probably about 5 months during that time of being single and alone, and then meeting George, I kind of, maybe that was the first steps. And then when we met, I still carried the codependency part in me, obviously. Um, but it was just having a relationship with a person that treated me well
Mm.
and that didn't experience jealousy and all this stuff and controlling and manipulation, that kind of helped me like, oh shit, like I am worthy, I can do this. And so I think it was leading up to it, I was working on myself, but I feel like during our relationship, the first like year, I want to say, is when I really started to grow.
Mm. Beautiful.
Yeah.
What's the sweetest thing about your relationship with, I say Jorge, is it George? Should I call him?
It's no, it's Jorge. It's just
I
the
was
funny
like,
thing is,
oh
even his parents call him George.
no.
They
Okay.
named him Jorge, but because USA English, it's just easier for people to say George.
Got it.
He answers to George. It is what it is. But yes, you can absolutely call him Jorge.
Okay,
Absolutely.
cool.
Uh,
What's the sweetest part of your relationship with him? What has it been during the pandemic? What have you treasured the most?
uh, what I've treasured the most is us being able to be Tanya and Jorge, or George, and not Ataca la Alemana.
Mm.
Because for the majority, and that's something we definitely struggled with, is the majority of our career, with 12 years, we have always been this brand. And for our relationships, that's definitely something we struggled with, is trying to separate Ataca la Alemana and Tanya and George, and not bringing, if we had like an issue in our personal life, into the business, and if we had a business situation, not having that come here. It was very, very difficult. And I feel like we haven't perfected it, but we're definitely better, and at least now we are able to recognize when it happens, so we can just nip it right there and then separate it. Because we were having, when we had disagreements in business, it would carry over to the personal, and then it just kind of kept going in a circle. But I have treasured the most just being George and Tanya while we're at home. Like, even though we can't go out, and I'm the introvert, he's the extrovert. He likes to go out to clubs and hang out with his friends. And I'm like, I'm good. I'm cool staying at home. I'll watch some Netflix. I'll read a book, whatever. I don't care. But he's been able to play games. He's very big into Call of Duty now.
Uh-huh.
So huge on that. And it just makes me happy to see him satisfied. He looks satisfied. He's acting satisfied. And then we're able to, go out and have some lunch just by ourselves. And one of the things is when we travel, we're constantly on for at least those 4 or 5 days that we're traveling. We're in the airport, and then we go and blah, blah, blah. But then even when we're eating at an event, at a congress, like a celebrity that you would think from Hollywood, they're always getting interrupted, and with paparazzi and all this other stuff. And the same thing happens for dancers, at least in our community.
Mhm.
We'll be having lunch because it's in the hotel with everybody, and then you'll be asked to take a picture, and it's a little bit hard to get used to that. And I don't think I ever really got used to it, although I appreciate all the love. I never really got used to that part of it. And I feel like now, going out to a restaurant, we're like, oh my God, nobody's asking us anything. This is amazing. So enjoying something like that, like it's little stuff, but that's what I like the most. But it's just us being able to be us.
Hmm. What's your favorite thing about George, the human, that has nothing to do with dancing or?
George, the human, he has taught me to communicate. Um, and just to actually communicate. I'm not saying he's the most effective communicator all the time, but just the fact of him saying, we need to talk about it. This needs to be talked about. That's not something I grew up with. I grew up as oh, it happened. Let's sweep it under the rug. Let's forget about it. That's how I grew up. So I truly appreciate his um, ability to just want to fix the problem.
Mm.
He sees it and he doesn't want it lingering around. He's like, let's talk about it. Let's figure this out and let's move on. And that's something I really, really appreciate about him.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Mm.
What do you feel most proud of from your career over the last few years?
I think the thing I am proud of that I never thought would really happen is the effect that we've had on people's lives. The messages that we've gotten so many different types of messages, whether it's you saved my marriage or even as far as you saved my life. I was suicidal and I found you guys. And it's something that, I feel like as humans, we all want to make a difference and we all kind of want to leave the world a better place. And to actually have, and I don't want to say validation, but it is in a way like confirmation. It's a confirmation that what you're doing is actually making a difference and you're getting that confirmation in real time.
Mm.
I'm proud of, astonished, shocked, in awe of. It makes me feel all these amazing emotions because you don't think you can, I mean, depending on who you are, but sometimes you're like, oh, I'm just one person and I just make maybe a small difference in the circle that I'm in. And then when you find out you're touching people across the globe, it's like, what? That's just crazy. How? So I think that's the most that's the thing that I'm like most proud of.
What I appreciate from that also is, you think about what to dedicate your life to. And I really believe that many people, maybe even most people out there, want to make a difference in the world. And I think it stresses that there's no right way to make a difference, like whatever you're passionate about. And by bringing your passion
Mhm.
and just running full on towards whatever it is that you desire can be an inspiration. Um, yeah, that's what I love about your share. It's like there's no one right way to make a difference in the world. Be out there and you do you, and it'll touch people.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Yeah, as long as you're doing it with passion and with kindness in your heart, like, yeah, it doesn't matter what you're doing.
Hmm. I want to hear a little bit about the music that you recorded with Groupo Extra.
Okay.
What? Sorry, what was that reaction? What just happened?
It's crazy because it's still like, what? We recorded a full album. It wasn't just like one song, it was a full album. Just the whole experience was insane to me. It was crazy.
What most surprised you about the experience?
It's the fact that we were actually singing. That was surprising. Is we're dancers and we didn't go to school and we all like George, Rudy, myself, we all have incredible respect for singers that this is what they do because it's just like dancers. You put in the work, you put in hours and hours, thousands of hours into your craft. It needs to be respected. So when Grupo Extra, who have done an amazing job with their music career. They've been doing it for so long. And they were like, hey, you guys should sing with us. And we're like, okay, sure. That's amazing. We did have an opportunity to do a song with Kevin Cosmos first, which I think was a little test for them. They're like, okay, let's just see if they can sing. And then we did that song and then they were like, okay, cool. And but I personally, I know technically we're singers, but for me personally, I don't want to give myself that title because I haven't put in that work.
Yeah.
It's like a beginner dancer saying, I'm a dancer. I'm like, okay, I can't argue with that. However, you haven't quite put in all the time and the sacrifices
Hmm.
into that art form. I'm not going to deny that title. That's cool. But the experience with Grupo Extra, they're just amazing human beings, just on a human level. They're super down to earth, so nice, so encouraging too, because we were all nervous. This is not what we do. We don't practice. We're like, okay, that's a microphone. We're just gonna sing. All right. But they were super patient. They're like, okay, that's good, but let's try it this way. Can you hit this note? Or and I don't speak Spanish, and I'm singing this entire album in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
So they were helping me with the enunciation, and I was able to read, because I can read Spanish. I don't know what I'm reading, but I can read the words and I can sound them out. But they were extremely helpful, patient. Um, there was not a bad experience at all. Even like if the voice wasn't right, they weren't like ridiculing or like, oh, come on. Like it, like we never got any kind of energy from them that would say like we were beneath them in any way, shape, or form. It was just, it was like a family. And I feel like we've kind of always had that connection since we met them. I think we met them in like 2010. So we've known them for a while, and we've been able to build a relationship with them. But it was nice to be able to step into their world, but them also still accept us and encourage us to keep going and to keep pushing. And, you know, we had an awesome time with our family.
What do you want dancers to experience when they hear this album that you've created?
Um, well, I mean, like any song that they hear, I want them to feel joy, because we created the songs with joy. Again, I don't know all of the lyrics and I don't know everything, but I want to say just the feeling of it is joyous to me. So I hope that transmits in the music when you hear us all sing, because we were ecstatic to be there doing it, and hopefully that energy carried into the actual songs. And that's what people feel, is that just fun, just fun, unity, fun, family, good feelings.
So you made it through the entire album without knowing what the actual lyrics were saying?
I knew some of them, because the thing is like they would like, for the most part, no, I didn't know. Like when I
That's
was reading it, I was like,
amazing.
I'm like, okay, like I know some words and I kind of can put sentences together, but some of them I'm like, I have no idea. But when they needed a certain emotion in the song and the lyrics and how I was singing, like if I needed to be more sexy or whatever, they were like, okay, this is what the lyrics are saying. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I can change my attitude, I guess, when I approach the lyrics. But yeah, in general, I really didn't know much.
It's an amazing testament to the quality of support and what really good support can help us do, even
Mm-hmm.
when we're totally out of our element.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it seems like it has been because you recorded that album last year, correct? Or was it released this year?
It was released this year. We recorded it though December 2019. Yeah.
Got
And
it.
we
So,
were gonna do all concerts this year, and then COVID happened. But
oi. Oh man, I felt disappointed right then. I can't even imagine how you felt about not having it.
it is what it is. I mean, life happens. You
Yeah.
keep moving, you make it work.
Yep.
We got more surprises coming.
I'm so excited. So it seems like you are always trying new things, inventing, giving yourself permission to try things. And that included writing the foreword for Dance Adventures for this book, which I
Yes.
still feel so honored and delighted that you were willing to take that on. And, I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about what your experience was like writing it. Maybe there's some words of wisdom for other people who would like to write and are still working up the nerve.
It definitely was a little daunting when you asked me. One, I was shocked. I'm like, wait, what? She wants me to write? I don't think we ever like really met in person. We kind of like, you just kind of knew who I was through like social
Yeah, I
media
saw
and
you
everything.
walk by a few times, and that's about it.
So I was like, wait, this, at first, when I first got your email, I was like, this can't be real. This isn't real. There's no way this is happening right now. Because I always enjoyed writing, like in school, essays and things like that. I'm like, I used to write our newsletters for our company, and Rudy was like, damn, you're actually a pretty good writer. And I had a blog for like 2 seconds, but I enjoyed it. And then when, you asked me to do it, I was like, this is incredible. I'm super excited, but it was daunting and it was scary.
Hmm.
And I started researching. I have a ton of books, and I was looking at forewords of those books. I'm like, what do people write in a foreword?
I
I was
remember you
trying
were
to figure.
doing that, and I was like, "Wow, she's really taking it seriously."
I'm like, I am not.
Great.
It's something. It's your project, and I
Yeah.
want to make sure I give you 100% and give you what you deserve. So I
Mm.
wanted to make sure I did the research and like, okay, how do I do this?
Mm.
And but it was incredible to just put things on paper and then also having the experience of having actually other people read it. Like your editor read it and then gave me pointers and I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Cool. I like that. This is awesome. It was a learning experience and I like learning.
Mm.
So it was really great. And I thank you for the opportunity because it kind of sparked something I think in me that, I was like, you know what, I kind of want to write a book or at
Mhm.
least something. So I'm working on stuff, but it's little by little. I'm taking my time. I'm not trying to rush into anything. But
Yeah.
definitely inspired me for sure.
Beginner's mind, you just show up. What I appreciated about your effort was the integrity that you seem to have. Like, yes, I will do this project and I'm not just going to give you something. I'm going to be thorough. I'm going to look through it. Like, even though I assume, I'm making an assumption that that's part of why you have such a good reputation as a professional is that you do take things so seriously and are thorough with your work. So I'm thinking back, I'm like, I'm not sure why I was surprised that you really dove into it. Maybe it was even for me a little bit of like, oh my God, she's going to write it. Like, oh my God, she's actually taking it seriously.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, it's hard because you never know, you never
yeah.
know with people. So, but yeah, no, I feel like that's definitely, and that's a running theme just for our company. Like Rudy has that same kind of work ethic, George, the same. We all kind of feed each other. And I've definitely grown into it. I can't say that I've always been this type of person where I'm doing my research and I give it 1,000% every single time. Especially when I was younger, I've grown into this. But yeah, I wanted to make sure I do it right. And I give your project everything that I had and I do it justice because
Mhm.
you also have amazing stories in here. And I didn't just want to like with the foreword and then people be like, why is she the foreword? This is terrible. Because it sets the tone for everything. And I'm like, I can't half-ass this at all.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely did. I'm so curious which of the stories have stuck out to you and which ones you've enjoyed reading the most.
I think the one that stuck out the most was actually when you first approached me and you gave me a little taste of some of the stories. And this is the story that's kind of stuck with me this whole entire time. Um, and I have it right here because I wanted to make sure I say the title. Can I say the title on the
Of
author?
course.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because the title is Dancing in the Dunes and it's Alex Malusky, if I'm saying it.
Milweski. But then I'm
Male-
like, I've never pronounced his last name either. So who knows?
Malewski. We'll
Yes.
say that.
Whoever it is,
Alex.
we love him.
Alex. Alex. It was Alex. And I liked his story because one, I've had because he's a break dancer, a b-boy, and I've had b-boy friends in the past, and I know all of the physical aspect of the whole thing. Um, but what was amazing is he was there overseas. He just started dancing, and then he was able to meet these people that had the same interests just out of nowhere, just strangers, and strangers just invited him the next day to go somewhere. Granted, stranger danger, but he had an amazing experience and they took him to this amazing secluded location where, as he described it, the way that he described and the feeling that I got, it was just something that he probably would never have experienced had it not been for the dancing
Mm.
and being in that space at that particular moment. And I think that's what's so incredible of what dance just can do for us in general is like one, you never know what could happen, but two, it's you meet some really interesting, incredible people that you can either have awesome experiences with and then just let that be it, or amazing relationships with. And with his story, I was like, this is incredible. It just gave me all the feels reading the story. So I think that's probably why it stuck out because I was like, this is awesome.
I just saw him like 4 weeks ago. I was in Boulder, Colorado, where he lives. And I was like, hey, I have your copy of the book. I'm going to come by and give it to you. Or no, I said, like, let's meet up. And he's like, actually, come to where I am. So I drove over to where he runs a studio called Block 1750 in Boulder. And to my delight, I discovered that they've bought like the whole second section of this like strip
Oh,
mall and they're doubling the size of their studio.
that's
So
amazing.
I know. I got to go in the day before they opened it, and I gave him his book, and we like waved because we can't hug because COVID. And
Yeah.
but yeah, he's doing such amazing things in Boulder. He's such a committed dancer, and yeah, that he was one of the first people to turn in his story, and it's one of my favorites too. It's
Yeah.
so inspiring, and like, who knew oases were real?
I know. And then the ocean being right there, like not being able to tell the difference between the sky and the ocean. I'm like, that's
So
amazing. It's
that's
no,
amazing.
that's awesome. And it's just, and it also shows like, because I don't personally know him, but the way that the story went and how he was also very welcoming, not to mention, I mean, the other people in his their culture, but him too being very trusting, just kind of shows the kind of person that he is as well. And it was written in a very kind and loving and compassionate way. So I think that's probably another reason why it stuck out, because it was just such a pretty, beautiful story with a nice tone, I guess.
Yeah, that was really important to us as to all of us as we were writing this
Yeah.
book, making sure that it's a story about people going abroad and dancing, and even though we're all from different places, like Americans, Canadians, Nigeria, Sweden, you yourself were born in Germany. Like, we have to be so careful about how we represent other countries and cultures and these dance traditions. And so, Alex and the other authors were all so gracious about having their work edited, looked at it by lots of people. We hired a diversity consultant to look at things, and it was just amazing to it was just an amazing process. I'm so grateful for the whole experience.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
So let's end with a fun question.
Okay.
Um, if you were banned from the Latin dance community,
Oh my God. If I
what?
was canceled?
And you needed to find another dance to do,
Whew.
and you knew that whatever dance you set your mind to, you would become famous at and be able to make a living from, which dance would you choose?
You know what? It's hard because it's so competitive. But I probably wouldn't get to like a world renowned situation. I would go back to ballroom. I mean, that was kind of where I started. That's where my mom started, and I've always enjoyed ballroom. Although it would be in the Latin sector, like I would do the rhythm part. I wouldn't do the smooth part. So I'd still be in the Latin part, just not in this current Latin scene. I would probably go back to ballroom. Although, I mean, lately I've kind of gravitated. I've been listening to a lot of Afro house music, and it's just, I don't know if it's the drum, I don't know what it is, but it's this rooted rhythm
Hmm.
that gets me moving that I've enjoyed. I am not good by any means in that style. I received a choreography because we have teams. So our current team choreography is part bachata, and then I hired an external choreographer that specializes in this. So she gave us, I told her, I'm like, look, we're beginner dancers. Give me some simple stuff. The thing that she gave me, I'm like, yeah, that's simple in what you do, not for us. So it's a lot of work, but our ladies are working super hard on it, and as am I. But I definitely enjoy it. It's amazing cardio. Like, it's, if nothing else, it's an amazing workout. I love that.
Mhm.
But that might be something I would go into and maybe work harder in if I was canceled, but I hope I don't get canceled.
Who knows what you did in this scenario? I know. And then second bonus, final question: what are you listening to right now? Like, what are the top few things on your playlist?
Well, like the Afro House, I actually listen to that mostly when I'm working out. It's just awesome beats.
Is there
But
an artist that you like?
there's no particular artist. I just go like on Spotify. There's what is that playlist that I have? Let me see if I can pull it up. The one that I listen to all the time. Let me see. Home. Okay, it's not loading. Of course, when you need something to load, it doesn't. It's Afro Party Anthems is the playlist on Spotify, and
Pull it up. Uh-huh.
I just play it, and I'm like, yeah, this is a good workout. I like this. But also because just Latin music has been in my life since I was 10 because of my best friend,
Mm.
especially salsa. I also listen to like the salsa playlist on Spotify. But there's no like particular artist that I'm only listening to besides Beyonce, obviously.
Obviously.
Um, always. but the queen herself. But yeah, that those are pretty much the two genres of music that I'm listening to like on the regular, and then I make my ladies also listen to when we do like warm ups and stuff.
Fun.
Why
So
not? Expose them to as much as possible.
cool. Well, for those of you out there watching, thank you so much for tuning in. And Dance Adventures is available for pre-order on Amazon. Right now, you can get the ebook, and you can get the actual softcover hard copy on Barnes and Noble pre-order. But come December 1st, Tuesday, December 1st, that's the day to get it all on Amazon, Prime shipping, in time for Christmas for all the dance lovers out there. Read Tanya's story and the rest
Yeah.
of the amazing work. Thank you so much for being here, Tanya. So
Oh, thank you for having
pleasure.
me. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.